Why do you despise arrogance in others, but crave recognition yourself? Why does someone's weakness make your skin crawl, when you're still hiding your own? What if every judgment you hurl is just a desperate attempt to bury a part of yourself? Today, we're not just exposing the people you hate, we're exposing the secret you have spent your whole life hiding. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just see others differently. You'll see the enemy you've been running from in every mirror you've ever faced. If this sounds extreme, ask yourself, why do some people bother you before they even open their mouths? You see them across a room, a flick of the hand, the way they stand, a glance that lingers a little too long, and something inside you recoils. You don't know them. You don't know their story. But instantly, without a word spoken, you feel it. Disgust, irritation, a cold shiver of repulsion you can't explain. Maybe they laugh too loudly. Maybe they dress like they're begging for attention. Maybe their mere existence feels like an insult you can't quite name. You tell yourself it's instinct, a gut feeling, a natural defense against bad energy. But what if it's not about them at all? What if it's a signal, not of who they are, but of something you refuse to see in yourself? Maybe their arrogance strikes a nerve because it reminds you of the pride you suppress. Maybe their desperate hunger for validation mirrors the parts of you still starving for approval. Maybe their lies feel intolerable because you know the masks you wear all too well. The truth is, the more violently you react, the more likely it's not about their flaws, but about your own unfinished business. Maybe it's not them. Maybe it's something deeper inside you. Maybe it's not them. Maybe it's the echo of something inside you, something you were trained to hate. Imagine a guard dog trained from the moment it could stand to attack anything unfamiliar. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't think. It only knows one thing: defend at all costs. That's what projection does. It's the snarling guard dog inside you, lunging at anything that even resembles a part of yourself you were taught to fear. You see arrogance in someone else and the dog growls because deep down you were punished for being bold. You see vulnerability and the dog snaps because somewhere you learned that softness was shameful. You think you're defending your values, but really you're defending your wounds. Projection builds a false mirror, a way to fling your hidden traits onto others so you don't have to admit they live in you. It's not them you're fighting, it's the reflection. And the more viciously you fight, the more power you give to what hides behind the glass. But echoes don't appear out of nowhere. They start somewhere, usually long before you even knew your own name. But echoes don't appear out of nowhere. They start somewhere, usually long before you even knew your own name. Picture a small child laughing too loudly in a crowded room. Their whole body radiates joy, their voice fills the air without hesitation. But then a sharp glance from a parent, a hushed, urgent whisper, "Stop that, you're being embarrassing." In that moment, something beautiful cracks. The child doesn't understand why their laughter is wrong, only that it is. They shrink, they lower their voice. They learn being big, being seen, being joyful is dangerous. And so it begins. 100 tiny lessons. Don't be too loud. Don't show off. Don't cry. Don't be too sensitive. Every rule carved deeper into the skin of who you thought you were, not because your parents hated you, but because they were passing down the shame they carried too. And when you couldn't fight the shame, you learned to hide. You locked parts of yourself away, buried them under politeness, performance, silence. You survived by becoming smaller, quieter, less you. But hiding has a cost, and you're still paying it today. And when you couldn't fight the shame, you learned to hide. But hiding has a cost, and you're still paying it today. You built a mask. Maybe you became the good one, always agreeable, always smiling, even when you wanted to scream. Maybe you became the strong one, never showing weakness, even when you were breaking inside. Maybe you became the quiet one, the smart one, the funny one, anything that would earn love without risking rejection. At first, it was just a thin layer, a light disguise to survive the sharp edges of the world. But over time, it thickened. It hardened into armor, fused into a second skin so tightly wrapped around you that you forgot it wasn't really you. You performed the role so well that even you believed it. Smile wider, speak softer, Hold it all together. Never slip, never crack, never reveal the wild, messy, vulnerable truth thrashing just beneath the surface. You thought you buried it deep enough to forget, but the parts you locked away, they didn't stay silent. They grew teeth. The parts you buried didn't stay silent. They grew teeth. They became ghosts not of someone else but of the pieces of yourself you locked away. And like all ghosts, they haunt you. They whisper in your relationships, your friendships, your passing glances at strangers. You see someone cry easily and a spark of anger flares in your chest. Why are they so weak? But it's not their weakness you're condemning. It's the softness in you that you were forced to suffocate. You see someone bragging loudly at a party and your skin crawls with disdain. But maybe it's not their arrogance that wounds you, it's the memory of the times you were punished for shining too brightly. The more fiercely you judge, the more desperately you're trying to escape the truth. Because every outburst, every eye roll, every cold, sharp word, it's not about the world being wrong. It's about your reflection showing up where you least expect it. Every time you spit judgment, it's not justice you're chasing. It's absolution from yourself. Every time you spit judgment, it's not justice you're chasing. It's absolution from yourself. Because the moment you point at someone else's flaws, you get to shield the illusion you've worked so hard to build. You're not weak, they are. You're not arrogant, they are. You're not selfish, loud, needy, fake, they are. And as long as the spotlight stays on them, your carefully crafted mask stays intact. You don't have to feel the shame. You don't have to remember the parts of you that were shamed into silence. But ask yourself, are you really defending truth? Or just running from yourself? Are you fighting for what's right, or fighting to stay blind? Every sharp word, every cold dismissal, every smug thought feels righteous for a moment. But underneath that righteousness is fear, the terror of being exposed, even to yourself. You're not just attacking others. You're defending a ghost version of yourself that was stitched together from old survival instincts. And here's the twist you don't want to hear. What if the hatred isn't a warning sign of danger? What if it's a grave marker, a silent monument to all the parts of yourself you buried alive? And nowhere does this dance play out louder than in our closest relationships. Picture a couple sitting across from each other, an invisible battlefield between them. One says, "You're so clingy. Why can't you give me space?" The other says, "You're so cold. Why can't you show you care?" On the surface, it sounds like a clash of personalities, two people simply wired differently. But dig deeper and you'll find something far more tragic. The one who demands space isn't just annoyed by closeness. They're terrified of their own buried longing for affection, a need they were once shamed for. And the one who demands constant proof of love isn't just needy. They're haunted by the parts of themselves that were ignored, told they were too much. So they punish each other for traits they refuse to see in themselves. Closeness feels like suffocation. Distance feels like betrayal. Every fight isn't just about the other person's flaw, it's about the unbearable mirror they hold up without even trying. And slowly, the intimacy rots. The relationship isn't killed by differences. It's strangled by projection, by the unseen war each person is waging against their own reflection. Maybe you're not disgusted by them. Maybe you're terrified of needing them. But it's not just personal. When enough wounded people point fingers together, they call it justice. But often, it's just collective denial. We love to think mobs are fighting for truth, for fairness, for what's right. But look closer. See the way people howl for the downfall of the rich, not always because of true injustice, but because wealth awakens the shame of their own perceived failure. See how the weak are mocked, not because weakness is evil, but because it stirs up the terror of being seen as powerless. See how groups turn on the outsider, the strange, the different, not because they are wrong, but because their very existence threatens the mask of normality everyone clings to. It feels righteous, cleansing, powerful. It feels like purging the world of evil. But more often, it's a violent purge of the parts of ourselves we can't bear to face. A giant mirror cracked into 1,000 pieces, each shard flung outward with rage. We don't want to heal. We want to destroy the reflection. We want to erase the shame not by facing it but by crushing anything that reminds us of it. What if every riot is just a war against what we refuse to own inside? So how do you break the spell? How do you stop hunting ghosts and start reclaiming yourself? You start by turning the gaze inward, not with blame, not with shame, but with ruthless, compassionate honesty. The next time someone triggers you, stops you cold with anger, disgust, or contempt, don't just react. Pause. Ask yourself, what exactly about them enrages me? Where does that trait live in me? When did I learn it was shameful? It won't be easy. Your mind will scramble to justify, to blame, to push the discomfort away. But sit in it. Stay with it. Because hidden inside that trigger is a map, a trail leading straight back to the parts of yourself you abandoned to survive. The loud parts, the soft parts, the proud, messy, aching, brilliant parts. You don't have to love everything you find. You just have to be willing to see it. Because facing the parts you hate isn't weakness. It's the beginning of real power. Because facing the parts you hate isn't weakness. It's the beginning of real power. Healing doesn't happen by destroying what you were taught to despise. It happens by gathering all the exiled parts of yourself, the loud, the soft, the proud, the afraid, and bringing them back home. It's like dropping a whip you've been using to beat yourself bloody in the dark. It's like calling back the children you abandoned inside your own heart. It's not clean. It's not pretty. It's not instant, but it's real. Every time you choose to see instead of attack, to accept instead of judge, you weaken the old spell. You dismantle the mask piece by piece. You strip off the second skin that never truly fit. And underneath it all, you find something you didn't expect. Not shame, not weakness, but a fierce, aching kind of wholeness. A version of you that doesn't need to project, to attack, to hide. And now, as we stand here with the mask cracking and the mirror clearing, one final question remains, waiting in the silence. You saw the truth today. The hatred isn't random. It's a map straight to the parts of yourself you tried to kill. You can keep blaming the world. You can keep running. Or you can finally turn around and face what's been clawing at you from the inside. No more excuses. No more hiding. Right now, name it. In the comments or just to yourself. The trait you judge the hardest. The one you were taught to fear, to hate, to bury. Own it or it will keep owning you. Because the only thing more painful than facing your shadow is letting it rule your life in the dark. So tell me, will you keep pretending, or will you finally take yourself back?